Hello, beautiful star family. Welcome to this new edition of the podcast Prophet. I was actually just sitting down to meditate, and all these thoughts started to come rushing to me, and they started rushing in so quickly that I felt this need. Sorry, I'm getting cozy. I felt this need to just kind of talk while I'm stretching and kind of working with spirit. So feel free to close your eyes if you can, wherever you are. I think the podcast things are really funny because I'm like, isn't the whole point of a podcast is that you don't see people? And then people started videotaping podcasters, and now I'm like, well, wouldn't that just be a talk show? And can't you just put that on the airwaves? You know what I mean? I just think it's kind of interesting. So Spirit's having me keep it black. I'm going to keep it black because it's really about listening. So if you have the luxury of where you are right now, where you're listening to this, that you can just close your eyes and relax, I urge you to do so. Because the truth is, we take in more information when we are actually closing our eyes. Our eyes are such powerful receptors, and they take in so much information, when our eyes are closed, our ears are the next step of the acute awareness around us. Now, I am not someone, I am blessed to have my sight. So, if I were to speak to someone who did not have their sight, like when I was growing up, one of my neighbors, Ricky, he was blind. He was born blind. Or not Ricky, excuse me, his brother, Jim. And it's interesting because there were 4 boys, and they all had their troubles. They all had their situations or whatever. But I always thought it was interesting that the sweetest, kindest, most loving one of the boys was actually the blind one. And he was the oldest. Can you imagine? Can you imagine not having sight and then having siblings and they can see? So their world was very different, right? They had a very different world. And I feel like when we are connected to what we hear and sense and feel more than what we can see, we can understand our surroundings better. Since this started, my eyes have been closed, and I am feeling this really powerful connection just to the wind chimes, the traffic. You know what's interesting? We're on the base of the mountains, and I can hear the mountains. I remember one time I was watching one of Yona Hinton. If you don't know Yona, my goodness, you must go to her channel. I've been following Yona for more years than I literally know. And in my mind, we have a sidebar friendship only because she's hearted my comments. We've had interactions, a lot of interactions over the years, but I've also interacted with her on both my channels. I have her on both my channels because sometimes I miss her on one channel or the other. So that way it's like, I feel like I won't miss it. Anyway, but Yona had this really beautiful video out, and a spirit calls me to. I'll put a link either to her channel for you to find on your own, or the actual video where she talks about the mountains humming. And I know what she means. When we get away from the noise, when we get away from our phones, the screen time, the phones are fucking awesome. They're wonderful. But I'm telling you right now, my eyes, if I don't look at my phone or use my phone for several days, which I haven't had the luxury to do in a long time, but when I did have that luxury, I was so, my eyesight was so much stronger. Even though I've got it on the eye setting, the low setting, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It's because our eyes are not meant to do that. Not only that, but the way we're looking up or the way we're looking down, at the camera, right? If you're laying down, is it resting on your knees? Are you looking up? Or is it on your stomach? Is it on your desk next to you? You know what I mean? Is it across from you on a table? But either way, I have a big chunk of black tourmaline, and it is the center of my home. Seriously, I had it in the center, and just recently I moved it back over to the altar, and I've been really feeling that power and just holding it because there's so much electromagnetic smog that's coming out, right? So that's not the reason why I came on here, but obviously when things come up, I want to talk to you about it. But I do know that Spirit wants us to connect more to our other senses, and that it's not just the five senses. There's so many things. I don't know about you guys, but I have been getting the most bizarre, like where I feel like somebody's touching me, or I feel like things are crawling on me, and I look and there's like nothing there. And I feel, and I, put my hand there to see if I'm not seeing something. There's nothing there. So we are really connected to a lot of different worlds and dimensions at this time. And I just want you guys to give yourselves a break. In real time, today is July 12th, 2025. And it's interesting because I've been experimenting with all of these different energies, patterns, behaviors, a lot of different things, just to kind of see like what works for me, what doesn't work for me. And it's been really, really eye-opening. One of the things that has been happening, listen to those wind chimes. One of the things that has been coming up is it's not really about my age, but it is about my age. And the reason why I say it like that, because I believe for my age, quote unquote, at 53 and a half, over now, closer, getting closer. But in these years that I've been alive, in these years that I've been blessed to be here, I have had so many different incarnations and experiences of myself. So I can only go by what I've experienced. And what I mean by all of that is I am limited. There are some things I cannot do that I used to do. Part of it is that I'm out of shape. That's true. I don't walk as much as I wish, like I work my ass off around here. So like I'm strong, like my muscles are strong, but like I need to walk. And I'm really excited because next week there's a lot of really cool things that are happening in my world, and I'm looking forward to them, even though Mercury's going retrograde and all that good stuff. That's okay. My partner is a triple Gemini. They're ruled by Mercury. And it's interesting because sometimes they say when it's your sign, like, right, like Mercury, like if you're under Mercury, that it's like the worst for you. But in Alder's experience and my experience with Alder, it's kind of not true. And also he doesn't feed into it, but it's interesting when things happen, he'll be like, Mercury's in retrograde. I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? So like, it's like one of those things where like, I don't want you going into it like with any fear, but I also want you to go into it with some, open eyes, but not in the like, your physical eyes, going into it with your third eye. Like if things are happening, pay attention. Sometimes that flat tire is a blessing. You have a meet cute on the side of the road, you know what I mean? Like you never know, right? And sometimes things are uneventful and you're like, wow, nothing really happened to me during that Mercury retrograde. And then you look back and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. My boss, blah, blah, blah. But then you'll like see all these things that like happen to other people, because it's not that it's actually going backwards. It's just that the planet is slowing down. So I want you to keep this in mind, okay? Because this is like the visual that Spirit's been showing me for quite some time now. So imagine, right, like we're ever moving. The planet's moving. Earth is an organism right now. You can hear the wind is moving the air, right? Like we are ever moving. We are ever changing. We are ever growing. So this planet was based on a fifth dimensional energy. It fell into the third dimensional energy. We went to the darkest dregs of humanity, right? Slavery, like we see, proof in Egypt, and these movies when we were growing up, right? And these like biblical type movies where it's like some of it's true, some of it's not true, whatever. Take what you need, leave behind what you don't, kind of thing. But all the while lessons, and all the while showing just how powerful humanity is, and also showing how powerful free will is, because the people have overturned systems, monarchies, administrative systems for years. This has been going on for years. So it's really about fighting for our freedom, fighting for humanity as a whole, and we can see that we're moving ever closer to one world, and realizing that dividing us is ridiculous. Like the United States, the North and the South, right? Like some that were like, that's abysmal, that's a human being, they have a right, you don't own them, you didn't fucking pay for a human being. I don't fucking care what you say or how you look at it. You cannot pay for a human being. It's vile, right? And then we have other people who are like, that's okay. Oh, I can't think of her last name right now. Caitlin. If Spirit calls me to, I'll put a link in the description box. Always look in the description box for more fun stuff, or more, stuff to study or look into. But there's this comedian, and oh man, she just fucking nails it. She nails it. She nails it like so hard that she just put out this new one because I was like, oh man, I've been missing her. And she came into the thing is, she came to my orbit recently, and in recent months, and then I made the mistake of binge watching her because I didn't look to see. I just assumed they had like a shitload kind of thing, and just assumed that they would make content until I saw that they hadn't made one in a while. I was like, oh no. I'm like, so I kind of overexhausted myself on them, but I was laughing so hard because they nail these facets of humanity that have been co-created to like fall in line of this like utopian society that isn't really utopian, because it's only utopian if it's on the backs of others, right? And we look at humanity as a whole, and what, you know what I mean? They're a human, you're a human, end of story. You don't exploit them, you don't use them. It's like, it's so childish. And this old third dimensional energy is really childish, actually. The monarchy, all of it, it's fucking childish. It's childish. And it's ridiculous to say one family just keeps making children and they rule. Who says? Who the fuck says so? Like, that's so fucking crazy. I'm not saying that they're bad people or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if you look at it as a whole, it's just fucking ridiculous. Yes, you're going to have leaders. Yes, but, the area that I live in, I was blessed to come across the spot that all these Native American leaders, shamans, like all the chiefs and like their medicine men, because they were men at the time. They may have had some women, I don't know, but I only saw men in my third eye. But I was meditating in one of the most beautiful places in the mountains where I live. And I felt like I was elevating off the ground. And next thing I know, I turned around and I just saw like all these different Native American men, and they were dressed in different attire, but they all looked like they were in like their Sunday best, you know what I mean? Like their regalia, like they were in like their full on, and it's interesting because I saw chiefs, but I also saw like medicine men. So I don't know if it was like two men who traveled together, the chief and the medicine man, or woman. I don't know. But anyway, it was just really cool. And then I found out from locals that that's where they used to all come, all the different tribes from the Pacific Northwest. I think Canada too, like they all like met in this magical spot. And honestly, I mean, it's like one of the most magical spots. The trees there are unbelievable. The root system is like, it looks like a fucking fairy tale. If Spirit calls me to, I'll post an old shorts on one of my channels from it, but it's really magical. It's called Merhut Falls, by the way. So getting back, I started to just recognize and understand and realize like what's really happening here. It's like they're so immature, and it's like, it's almost like the spoiled children, or the children who didn't get what they wanted. It's like they come from money, or they come from, whatever, what I mean? Like, at least we know for the sitting American president. I don't know the stories of the other leaders that are trying to take over the world too. But, right? You this entitlement, that you think you deserve something just because your family has been, whatever for this long, or has this much money, or this much power, or this much control. When it really is the opposite. Game of Thrones I think that's why Game of Thrones became so huge so fast, because it was showing like that, there's good, quote unquote, and evil, quote unquote, in every like realm, no matter where you are, no matter where you go, no matter what part of the world. And the universe is the same. Of course, there are energies here and entities here that are trying to take over. Some people believe that these immature, like these people who are like trying to siphon, that they're like the reptilians, And I started watching Independence Day again, and I couldn't get through it, because it was making me more frustrated and angry, because I feel like that's on such a smaller scale. I'm not saying that they couldn't come here and do that. I'm just saying that like there's so many powers that are loving forces around the planet right now and on the planet right now, that I don't want to see, you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm just going to speak it into being. We won't see, let's put it that way. We won't see that trigger happy energy, where, oh, you're an alien, you're different, I'm going to kill you. Bam. It's like, no. But the truth is, because whatever's here right now, they couldn't do that to them. Like, something would intervene, something would happen, the gun would backfire, whatever. I am noticing in my own world, in my own everything that's going on with me, like just how much my gifts and powers are like coming back just naturally, innately, the more I'm getting closer to myself and who I am. It's been a very, very interesting experience, even with my partner, like just everything we've been going through together. And this old shadow self of all or nothing, very selfish, very bratty. And then I have to keep reminding myself, like, and this is why I started to make this video, is that we really are at our own levels of consciousness and understanding right now. And we wouldn't want someone else to push us faster or further beyond who we are or what we can handle right now. Solitude is your friend right now, unless you are in a community of people who are at least in the same think tank. Okay? It's not like I'm saying pull away from the third dimensional, let them fend for themselves. No, it's just like we've put so much out there. Like, we've been doing this for literally over 50 years. When the age of Aquarius came in and the hippie movement and all that, it was about love. When the moon is in the 7th house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, then peace will guide the planets, right? And love will be the stars. This is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. I know I'm almost positive I'm saying the lyrics wrong, but you get what I'm saying. It's like that song was created for a fucking reason. Dude, listen to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Just binge watch Earth, Wind, and Fire, and do me a favor, close your eyes and meditate on it. Meditate on an album of Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I guarantee you, listen to Mystery. I mean, or it's like Mystery Ship or something like that, when they're talking about that. I mean, it's like, it's been going on for so long. So listen, the third dimensional energy is going to start falling away even faster now as the Earth speeds up. So the Earth, thank you, Spirit. The Earth is already sped up into the fifth dimensional energy, okay? I was looking at something from 3 years ago, and I'm like, that was 3 years ago. I mean, to me, it feels like maybe last year, a year and a half, but not 3 years ago. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I can feel it, so I know you guys feel it too. If you found yourself here, like, you're in the same thing, like, you have a knowing, you have a feeling, there's something going on, right? Like, there's something going on, right? There's this knowing. So the third dimensional energy is going to naturally fall back to the wayside, because like we are going to see more floods and we are going to see more things that are going to happen. And there are people who are placed like push pins, and light workers who are put in places like push pins all over the planet to hold space, to light anchors, right? Like, or to have anchors to bring their light to that energy, to that corner of the world. The internet, they tried to use the internet to control us, but it's like everything else. There's always going to be a balance of yin and yang, good and bad, you know what I mean, quote unquote. Because nothing's really good, nothing's really bad. It's all in the way you view it. It's all about your perspective. It's all about, understanding yourself so that you can understand others. But the number one thing is loving ourselves, forgiving ourselves, loving others, forgiving others, for they know not what they do, right? There are some things from the Bible that I remember, as it was bashed into my brain as a child, but of course there's beautiful things in the Bible. I'm sure there's beautiful things in every, literature of religious text. You know what I mean? Because there are real people who went into those religions with the greatest intentions and are still there with the greatest intentions. Father David, he's like one of my favorite like prophets out there right now. And I don't know if he's still practicing as a preacher, but he was a minister, and it's very interesting to see, or a priest, I think, excuse me, a priest. And correct me. I always say to people, if I ever say anything wrong, please correct me. You can put the lyrics to the song. You can, you know what I mean? Like, also, if you guys haven't checked it out on my channel, there's a new feature. It's on the homepage and it says My Community. If you are a subscriber, you are more than welcome to post anything you like there. Something that you saw, something that moved you, something that inspired you, something with your spiritual business that you are trying to create, or one that you have already. We are all here to connect with each other. We're the web weavers, Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Wind Energy. There's just so much happening everywhere. 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 So again, the base message that I'm getting from Spirit is to remember that we're all at different levels of consciousness. I am only poor if I choose to be, right? As Dolly Parton says. And I am only in a horrible place if I choose to think that I'm in a horrible place. The interesting thing is, lately, certain things have been pulling away from my orbit just naturally. They've been naturally falling away. Drink some water. Stay hydrated. Ooh, when I looked up, it was 2255. So that's an angel number to work with. Also, it comes to the number 14. And if you add it together, it's the number 5. 5, embrace the 5 energy of change and transformation, because we're in it. We're in it. This is Revelations, you guys. It's just a different form of it. We are going to see certain things, and it's going to be horrible, and it's going to be hard to see. But we have to remember that those are angels. Those are beautiful souls that sacrificed their lives, and their story was told to bring light to this situation. So I started talking about Caitlin because she's so funny. And coming back to the monarchy thing and like the sitting president, she said, I'm totally paraphrasing because I only watched it once, but I was dying laughing because you have to laugh. I love comedy when it's real, because we have to laugh at ourselves, and we have to laugh at what we are and what we've become, or what we haven't come into. But she's like, oh, y'all, when I voted for the Colonel President Trump, I really, honestly, I did not, I did not believe that they would do some of the things they're doing. I mean, I just don't understand why the Colonel, President Trump would do something like that. And she goes into this whole thing, and it's so fucking funny because it's so true. Like, right? Like, I started feeling like that kind of like Gone with the Wind vibe, where it's like, Mama, I'm just a helpless woman from the South. And it's like, that's such fucking bullshit, because I have very, very strong women who came from the South. And the more I have been investigating and learning about certain things from my ancestors as they come through to me in my journeying with them and spirit time and dream time. I have seen so much, and the women in my family are very, very strong on my mom's side, like extremely strong. And I've had days where I cried. I'm like, I wish I was raised with my dad and my brother. Like, we could have been, like famous musicians. Imagine if we'd like put a band together or something. And I mean, it's just like all these like fantasy worlds in my head. And not to exclude my mom and my sister, but I'm saying like my sister was already kind of moving on. You know what I mean? And obviously my parents were getting a divorce. My mom wasn't in this scenario, but I did, there was a time where I had come of age where I could decide, which parent I wanted to live with. And I felt like my dad pushed me to live with my mom and pushed for my brother to live with him. And nobody really pushed against it. And I was too young, to like really make a say, whatever. I remember the day that my parents like separated, and it was like the Hatfields and the McCoys, talk about the South, right? It was like my dad's family came there to make sure that like nothing happened. My mom's family came there, and my dad was like one of 8, my mom was one of 6, and not all of them, but like a lot of the family members like showed up just to make sure that everything was cool. And looking back on it all, it's like it was such a horrific moment, and I'm so grateful. My aunt kind of saved my life. At least my memory of it was my aunt being like, stop it, like everybody stop it. And she's like, I'm going to take her. And I started to realize this like separation, boys and girls. It's so silly. But I digress, because everything happened the way it was supposed to. And I was raised by these really, really strong and powerful women who, let me just say, were strong and powerful in some ways, but in other ways, they were extremely inept. There was a lot of judgment, a lot of boxes, little boxes on a hillside, little boxes that go tippy tap. Do you guys remember that from Weeds? I don't know where the song is from, but it was the main song, the lead-in song for Weeds, that show. But it's true. It was like that kind of suburbia, like you got to fit into this mold. And we co-created that, though, all of us, myself included. I mean, I became the monster that I was co-created to be, Then I had to see myself, look at myself in the mirror, see the monster that I'd become. And I say that because I'd gotten so out of control that I was like a deformed version of myself. And now it's taken me at least a decade to, more than that, but definitely a strong decade to unpack all that fucking shit and sift through every box, go through every fucking closet, every skeleton, every envelope, every relationship. And I'm still doing that, and I'm going to continue doing that. And I urge you to do the same. It's weird. I don't know where my throat's getting really tight. So I take that as a sign. Because I'm supposed to be taking today off. And tomorrow is, in real time, Sacred Sunday. And also, I just realized in this moment that tomorrow is Sunday, July 13th, 2025, which is also a 13 number, because if you add all the numbers together, it's 13, which just comes out to the number 4, and 4s are about balance and stability and strong foundation. So we'll be talking more about this. So always check out the Sacred Sunday episodes. I'm going to put a link in the description box for the playlist. Also, if you ever forget when it is, Spirit directed me to put it to the top of my channel, of this channel, The Magical Medium. So it says right up there, come join us live every Sunday at noon Pacific Standard Time for Sacred Sunday. And that way you'll never forget it. It's always there. And if they have me change it, or if things change, then they will. And those of you who've been with us for a long time know that Spirit does have me change things. I mean, we did the moon readings religiously, like 8 readings a month for so long. I thought it was just like my path. When they told me to stop, I was like, what? And then I had to go into my dark night of the soul. Like I really entered into the dark night of the soul and it was really cool. So, this whole channel has been my journey. Lula's Labyrinth is a spin-off of it, but this started as Lula's Labyrinth and then graduated to the Magical Medium, and then we spun off. It's like Lula's Labyrinth is like a spin-off, right? Like when you love your favorite TV show and the show is like done and cancels, but it has a spin-off. Or like, the fucking superhero movies that are like, they're like spinning off like fucking gremlins, right? Like feeding them after midnight and giving them water and shit. There's so many, I don't know the names of them. There's literally so many superhero movies. However, I'm grateful for them, and they're there for a purpose. They're not just there for money-making machines, although I don't really love the commercialism of that aspect, but that's someone else's whatever. So, but I do like that people are rising, and and when Caitlin was doing that episode, that little short, she said something like about the woke people, and it made me laugh because that's what they're doing. They're making us look like we're fucking freaks and weirdos. They want us that. They want that. They don't, it's like, do you not see that you're in the minority, right? Like the whole planet has been on like judgment, minority, color, gender, race, sex, blah, 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 blah. You can't be this, you can't be that. Really? Well, human beings are born a hermaphrodite. So who the fuck is this? Like, who are you to decide? You can't fucking say, oh, God created it, so it must be so. Okay, so if a child comes out a hermaphrodite, so what is that? A one-off? Like, meaning like, because I know there's more than one, but I'm just saying, like, right? Like, who the fuck are you to decide whose journey it was to have that experience? It's just like, it's so interesting. So the woke movement is just of people who are like, I don't want to be in your fucking cruel world of literally killing us from the inside out and the outside in, and then like giving you money to fucking heal us. Like, what? It's like the biggest scam in history is what is happening, right? That's what the third dimensional energy was. The fucking snake oil salesman, right? That promises you the world. I'm going to give you this snake oil. If you drink it, it's going to heal all your, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, but that old thing of that. And if you don't know, it's basically saying like charging somebody for something that's not real. I mean, placebos are real, and a placebo is very real. I've seen it in action. I've done it myself. And, our mind is a very powerful tool. So they've been literally turning our minds to goo like fucking zombies. Like, that's the zombie, right? Is the people who are, going around and like trying to be like other people, doing plastic surgery to look like other people. I've said this before. If you want to do plastic surgery, or, my God, if you are born hermaphrodite and you love all of you, fuck yeah, dude. Like, and whoever you are, dude is just like a term I use, right? But like, be who you are, like, do your thing. I'm like, I think it'd be kind of cool actually, right? To be able to have a penis and a vagina. I mean, like, I don't know, who's to say, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not that person. I'm not born that way. I don't know. And if they want to, the sickest part about that is, watch any documentary or read any books about a hermaphrodite whose parents chose the sex for them, as if they could change who they'd be on the inside, as if they could change their soul, and talk about a journey of self. That's something else. To me, my hat's off to, I mean, it's been hard enough being what I am, a telepathic, medium, like my whole existence, and knowing this and not understanding what and who I was. But add on top of that, I'm gay, lesbian, LGBTQ, whatever, insert, another trial of being, right. And then on top of that, let's just say I'm Black in Southern America. Do you know what I'm saying? Like to me, like, those people are like, holy shit, like, is it a karma? Is it something that you wanted to learn? Is it all of the above? I mean, who knows? It's just so powerful. So our past lives are all merging together right now. Things are coming together in a very sacred way. See, notice how my throat like cleared up. Don't allow others to tell you who and what you are. This last full moon in Capricorn was one of the most illuminating experiences of my life. Please feel free to comment below what you have gone through. I'm excited to share more with you guys over time as it develops. But right now, I'm just so grateful for where I am, what I'm doing, how I am, what's happening, blah, 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 blah. I can go into so many things. Yesterday, I held space for this property with gratitude, and I felt really good about it. Instead of killing anything, I was finding things. I went around the edges and stuff. Right before I started, this beautiful snake went right in front of me, and I was like, "Hi!" I'm like, "Hey, baby," and I'm like, "You're not that snake, are you?" Because I saw like the left side, and they were like perfectly fine, and the other, and so I was like, "I don't think you are," but I think they were trying to show me whatever happened with that snake. I cannot put out into the universe and say, connect my hands to the earth, speak to Gaia and all the creatures, and say, um, you know, please do, or thank you for not letting me maim, harm, or kill anything, unless it is their time, or they need something from me, or blah 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 blah, kind of thing. So if you weren't part of last week's Sacred Sunday, I had a situation where I was working on the grounds. I do a trade to be the landscaper, groundskeeper, and one of the watchers of this property. It's really powerful. And I unfortunately, in one day, had a really horrific experience where all of these things happened. And I was so angry about it that leading up to the full moon, I just like went into this like deep, like old version of myself, an old family, this like very third dimensional, like the ancestors were working with me every day. It just got super intense. But in the day that I was working, I fatally wounded a snake. Now, I say fatally wounded because I don't know if I killed them or not. It looked pretty fatal to me, but I don't know. And I did put them in the mud flats, and so I was like, I don't know if there was a way. I just got this vibe that I needed to like pick them up and like carry them. So I did. I picked them up, and they like literally like wrapped around my hand so fast, and I was just like, oh, is this a defense? It was a gardener snake, but I was like, it's okay. And I just like put my hand over them, and I started giving them Reiki as I walked. And I said, Spirit, tell me where to bring them. Tell me what to do. And I brought them to this area where I live. It has these mud flats, and it's like a wildlife sanctuary, and it's like all protected and stuff. But I thought if they're either going to go there to be food for something else, or if they're going to heal, if they could heal themselves, this would be the place to do it. I just got that vibe, so I put them in there. But I don't know. I don't know my gifts. I mean, it could have been that snake. I mean, it was so joyful and happy when it crossed my path yesterday, and it looked just like that snake. And I've seen many snakes around here, different colors, different styles. I even was like trying to look for their head, because this one had this like it was so obvious. It was like this beautiful diamond on their head. It was just, they were so beautiful, very special. But they were bigger, I mean, they weren't the biggest gardener snake I've ever seen, but it's not like they were a tiny baby, or like, it was young. So I don't know. I have no idea what you know, but all I can tell you is that when the snake crossed my path yesterday, they spoke to me, and they were like, everything that happened that day was supposed to, everything you killed, everything that, like I even like cut this branch. I saw this spider, and I was like, you got to go. I told you guys to move. But it's interesting because every time something happened, I was angry. I was angry at the snake. I was like, what the fuck, man? I said for you guys to move. I'm like, what were you doing there? Because they were like really straight along I mean, honestly, in my defense, like, right. And not that I need defending, but in my defense, right. Like, I've been edging, and, I've been working on this property for several months now. And, I've never seen a snake straight against the like edge of the sidewalk with the grass like that. I've never seen it. And the grass wasn't that, I mean, it was tall, but it wasn't that tall. I mean, it was just like, I don't know how I didn't see them. You know what I mean? It was almost like they came out. It was almost like they got scared because there's like some places underneath the cement where they can easily go. So it was just, yeah. But anyway, so I was angry at the snake. I went, of course, immediately I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my God, are you okay? You know, because I saw him slithering away, and I immediately, stopped the weed eater, and I was like, oh my God, and then I was like angry at my landlord because I asked him for a trimmer, like one of those hand trimmers instead of like the weed whacker, because it's just like I can see like how fast it like maims and kills things. Where like if I was going with like a trimmer naturally, and I could buy one, right? But the long and short of it was each thing that happened when I trimmed the tree and the spider web fell on me and the spider bit me, my whole face blew up, and you know what I mean? Like all these things that happen, I was angry at them. I was like, why the fuck didn't you get out of my way? Like after I was sad that it happened, or, you know, when I got bit, that was the end of the day. And I was like, okay, enough. I was like, what the fuck was that? Like my whole face blew up, my lip. I was like, oh my God. I was like, it has to be that spider because it could have been something else. But either way, I realize now that I'm on the other side, the dark side of the moon. I can sit back and look back at it and see how much I was working through of my own trauma, of my own control issues, of my own, like, if you did this, it would be that. If you blah, blah, blah. That's not what we're here to do. But when we recognize it, that's the fucking magic in this soup. That's the magic when we recognize it. When we look at it and say, why am I feeling this way? And the truth is, I have felt out of control for a long time. And I'm getting the chills all over my body because I grew up in a very rigid, very controlled energy. It wasn't just my family or my school or my friends or work. You know what I mean? It was the energy of control. So I had to remind myself that in this stage of where I'm at right now, I chose this. I chose every second of it. I chose every lesson, every heartache, every heartbreak, every longing, every wanting. Earlier this week, I was frustrated. I'm like, why can't we just live together again? I love him. I miss him. He needs me. I can feel that he needs the love, And there I was again, trying to control it. He needs me. He needs my love. The only love he needs is from himself. And until he can fully love and accept himself, he's never going to love and accept me the way I want him to. And that's okay, because that's where he's at. And I am just having my own more deep awakenings of loving and accepting myself, going through another closet, going through another heartbreak. And every time I feel like I'm losing something or I'm losing control, I realize that it's a gift and I surrender. So I ask you and urge you to do the same. On this dark side of the moon, until we reach the new moon in Leo, which is fire and awesome, and this water energy, take time to reflect. Dig deep into those emotions. You're going to see it on the channels. I have a lot of stuff I'm going to be sharing with you guys. Old stuff, new stuff. Dig deep into those emotions. Utilize the energy of Cancer season. It's only going to be around another week. And when Leo comes in, or another, 10 days? It's the beginning of the Lionsgate portal. I've been having so many things. I just made this shorts today with the Lion King because I had this like really cool scrying moment with Lilith, and right before the moon was full in Capricorn. Just so much. Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but I just felt so much from this moon. It was so amazing. And yesterday was like this completely different transformative experience with the property that felt so good. And I didn't even realize like how far things had gone until one of the weeping willows was calling to me. And I said, "Oh, I don't want to, is that a bee or a fly? Hold on. I just heard something came in, something flew in. And I was trying to keep the, everything closed so nothing would come in here. Oh, it's a fly. Interesting. So get that. That's why. So work with fly spirit medicine. If you haven't watched any of the readings, they've been coming up a lot. And I know, people are like, oh, a fly, but look deeply into a fly. Look at their shadow and their light. They're beautiful creatures and they bring us so much. They're just as powerful as a bee, We just think of them as more pesky, right? But they bring us a lot. You want to go out? Here, go. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for your service. We are in great gratitude for your service. They'll go when they're ready. So be where you are right now. If you're not where I am, that's okay, because you're not me and I'm not you. And there are those of you who come here that are further along than me on your path in certain respects. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you hear me? You feel me? This isn't a fucking competition or a contest. We're just here holding each other up, walking each other through until we get to the next phase in this world, in this consciousness, in this energy, until we move out of these avatars into another one, or, stay in our, spirit form, whatever is meant to be on our individual journey. That's what it is. It's an individual journey. Live it, know it, feel it, express it, love it. It's not about the destination. It really is about the journey. And when I found myself getting needy with my partner yesterday, I realized I'm needy because I'm still healing that part of me that's needy. I don't need him. I want him, but I don't need him. I can do things without him. Recently, he and I went through some things together, and it was just really powerful to see things. And then I saw something that I did, and I found that we both can fall back into patterns, both of us. And when we do, I try to immediately catch it. Spirit doesn't always have me say anything to him if he's not ready, but I catch it so that I know to change my languaging or the way I'm speaking or my decibel level. My partner is a very quiet person. He's literally the opposite of me. That's why we were so beautiful together. They have their moments of laughter and joy and anger and all that stuff. But for the most part, they're very quiet and they're such an observer. Oh, I just started to get emotional because that's what it is. I miss that side of them. And I said, we haven't been spending enough time together in like a fun capacity. And recently we've been doing it more. And, I don't know if it's this week or soon. They've been gone a year, like a full year. We haven't lived together. We haven't slept next to each other. We haven't, held hands. We haven't, I've tried to, and, whatever, but they weren't ready. And it's been a very, 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 very interesting experience. So I urge you to stay in your present as much as possible. Love yourself. Give yourself the solitude when you need it. Give yourself the community when you need it. But most of all, just listen to yourself. That is the main control they took away from us from a long time ago, which was feeling. Cancer energy is all about feeling. So utilize this energy to feel, to dig deep into it, sink into it, lean into it, feel it, work through it, laugh through it. We know, Dolly, laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. Steel Magnolias. Get that movie that makes you cry. Get that. Spirit's been leading me to watch certain things where I'm like, why? Why am I watching that? Like, why? What's happening right now? And then when I do, I have so many epiphanies. I'm so grateful. So be open to the medicine that's coming your way. It may not look familiar to you. It may not be in a pretty little package. It may be outside the box that you're used to. Step outside of that box. Step outside of that self of you, that version. Oh, I don't eat that. I've never liked that. Well, maybe you didn't, but maybe you might not. Maybe you'll like it now. And you know what? If you may have that same thing, you're like, nope, I don't like it. But that's okay, you know? But there are certain things. I mean, I think of so many foods that I would have lost out on that when I was younger, I did not like. And it makes sense because I was an empath. My mom loved tuna with onion, and I just was like, oh, I just thought it was horrific. I loved tuna sandwiches. I loved the creamy tuna. I loved it. I loved it with mayonnaise growing up in the 70s as a kid for school, you know, even though it was stinky and your friends are like, oh, tuna, right? Did you ever have those friends in school that they're like, they wouldn't sit by you when you had tuna? I remember I literally told my mom, like, I can't have tuna fish for school anymore. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because people tell me that my lunch is stinky. So then from there on out, it was just like, you know, and then I think about too, like my mom would make my lunch like the night before, most likely, sometimes in the morning, but usually the day before, or I'd make my lunch. But, and I think that sat in that brown sack or in my fucking lunchbox or whatever in the 70s, right? And like sat in there in our fucking, you know, lockers, which I mean, most likely were, you know, even with the heat on, like the lockers, at least that's good. But think about if you didn't have lockers. I remember getting my bologna and cheese sandwich where like the cheese had like melted into like the bread, right? Because, you know, it's kind of funny when you look back on it and they're so worried about salmonella and all these things. But anyway, I turned out okay. I digress. But even that, right? Like I stopped eating fucking certain foods because people made fun of me. Like just think of that's just one teeny tiny thing. Think of how many micro like things and micro habits or micro like things that we loved that we stopped doing just because, you know, of one kid or one situation or one person or one, you know what I mean? So embrace your individual path, embrace your story, embrace who you are, because you were put here for a reason, and we are all meant to be completely individual. And I know it's hard for people to think, how can billions of people be individual? But we can. Think of how many cells are in your body, right? We're just a bunch of cells making up one organism of creation. We are truly connected. They've been trying to divide us forever for power and control and greed. That's it. And people are being illuminated to that. So let the dark sides happen. Let people go through. Enough stuff's going to happen, trust me. If this sitting American president makes it to a 4-year term, I will be shocked, honestly. For multiple reasons. But again, shocked, I'm saying this now, right? Talk to me in a few years from now. You know. But it's kind of interesting too, because a lot of things are going to change over the next 2 years, you guys. By 2027, which is also an 11 year, which is an angel number. In my energy, understanding, consciousness, that's going to be the fucking turning of the tables. You know why? Because they came in 1969. Oh, that's why in the readings lately, we've been seeing 69 a lot lately, right? So I was born in 1971 and I'm 53. You do the math. We're tilting to the other side of it. You know what I'm saying? Like it took that first 50 years to start breaking down the system and for people to have more awareness. Now we're on the other side of it. Like if you look at it, like they say it takes about 100 years for anything to like take a real effect of change. So now we are in 50 plus years. By then we'll be moving more towards almost 60 years, and it's only going to get better and better and better and better. Which means in my lifetime, if I live to be over 100, I'll have seen the birthing of the age of Aquarius and the growth of it. And honestly, I'm feeling I'm sticking around because I feel like I worked really hard in the other lifetimes to be like, I ain't leaving yet unless I go early to be able to be born in the new age to bring it into, you know what I mean? So, I mean, there's been many times I've said to Spirit, I'm like, this is my last life here, right? Because like, I'm not doing this shit again. I'm like, the only way I'm coming back here is if this is like kumbaya and like, it's all fucking angels and like fairies and like, so who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? So maybe, you know, maybe certain entities like myself were created to always come back here. I have no fucking clue. And I'm not supposed to in this lifetime right now anyway. So, you know, let the sparkly fairy energy take over, you know, right? Get into the mindset of, you know, be gone before a house falls on you 2, Wizard of Oz. Wicked 2 is coming out, you know. People are waking up at a very fast rate. And once these people who are cut from Medicaid, it's going to start affecting a lot of, it's like, this is the beginning of the end for them. The only thing I said to Spirit the other day, I go, the only thing I can possibly maybe see why this is a good thing is that, you know, when the downfall happens of the 1%, like, you know, maybe there'll be lawsuits or whatever, and all the money that they're siphoning from us now will actually go back into the future Bank of America and not the Bank of America. Do you know what I'm saying? Not the establishment. I'm talking about like the pulling down of the establishment and the quote unquote real Bank of America, the American people, where it's our money. We pay into it. We decide where our money goes. You don't get to fucking decide where our money goes. We, the people, decide where the money goes. When I opened my eyes, I was 16 and went to 17. And you know, 17's been a big number for us. And it's also the number 8. And 8 is about infinity. And 7 is about cycles and change. And that's exactly where we are. So hold tight, my friends. Stay to the light as much as possible. Go into that fucking shadow. Work through it. You may be in the dark night of the soul for a while. So fucking buckle up. You know, get in there. Work through it. Because you're not getting out of it in any other way but to get through it. You can't sidestep it. Especially, think about it this way. I was born to be a leader. I've always been a leader. My mom came to me recently and she's like, she was showing me a visual of the Pied Piper. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. My mom had a way of saying the same things over and over, almost like a programming. And I took that on as well. I still do it sometimes, you know, where I'm like, oh, my mama says, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I do like it because there's a lot of wisdom that came from the women in my family. So I take that with pride and honor. You know, they are part of me. I am part of them, my blood and bone, my ancestors. So these wise women gave me a lot. But my mom showed me that she constantly would say to people that when I was a little girl, I was like the Pied Piper. She said there was just an energy. She said we'd go to a campground, we'd go to the, you know, wherever, you know, my mom would say, and, you know, she'd leave by herself and she'd come back with like a slew of people, animals, kids, you know, whatever, introducing people, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, I do remember that. Like, I do remember like grabbing people and be like, look, mom, I met these people, where my mom was always like, oh gosh, who is it now? My mom was like such a quiet, peaceful person. She'd be like, hi, how are you? You know, my mom trying to be polite. So it's kind of interesting. So, you know, like it's just part of my web weaver. That's why spiders are always around me. There are so many spider webs all around me. Like, even when I went to use the lawnmower yesterday, I'm like, come on, grandmothers, why do you keep doing this? Like, I have to go through with like a nice, you know, leaf or, you know, branch or something to get them off the lawnmower so I can use it so they don't, you know, get hurt. But this is a part of our practice. You know, we're loving light beings having a human experience, and we came here to anchor that love and that light here, but we're also human. So we're going to experience shadow. It's healthy for us to experience shadow and grief and pain and suffering. Most light workers went through horrific childhood and life experiences so that we could hold space for others, so we could have compassion and understanding. You know, that's why it like blows my mind when I meet somebody or I experience an energy of somebody who's been through something horrific and they're so awful. And I'm like, it feels to me like it's really the opposite. Like you know, but I went through it too, right? Like I'm preaching to the choir of myself and you and the rest of, you know, the world, right? Where it's like, some people become hardened by those experiences and some people work through them and find the light and realize that it happened for them and not to them. They're not in victim mode. But a lot of people who follow the sitting president and are more yes people, or I want to be liked and loved, whatever, they haven't made that reconciliation with themselves. They haven't made, those amends with themselves and with others. I realized that the last few times I went home, I wasn't just going to be with my family. I really was trying to find a way to make amends. And when I tried to do it my way, I was, mocked, laughed at, or just chastised or ignored, or, you name it, it happened. So, in terms of, shunning me. And so I was like, you know what? Okay, here we go. But I'm grateful for that too, because they did that. It's given me all of these years to go through so much. Also, I realized that a lot of the people that I had the most struggles with when I was home were also going through either the change, the women themselves, or the men were going through some type of major transformation. So there were people who were kinder to me than I thought they would be, and people who were meaner to me or more hateful to me than I thought they would be. It was a very interesting experience, but I found that being the mirror, and I became a scapegoat, and but it was really just a mirror for me too, to recognize like how much I don't want to be like that anymore, or I don't want to hold that pain and suffering or that anger that came through other people's pain and suffering and anger. And we know now, scientists, I believe this is true, even if somebody says it's bullshit. I think it is true that we keep trauma in our blood and bones. Of course. I mean, I studied a lot about the human anatomy over different times in my life for different experiences and things I was going through, or pain and suffering that I was going through that I needed to figure out on my own. And I'll tell you what, when you walk in someone else's shoes, you get a different insight and knowing and understanding. So if you are here right now and you have gone through those experiences, please be proud of yourself and congratulate yourself that not only have you gotten this far still with love in your heart, but also that if you are holding that anger and that, that means that you're taking that on in this lifetime so you can work through it karmically, even through dharma, right? Like, and it's interesting when we look at these, speaking of dharma and karma, when we look through these, different, like I'm American, right? I'm like born and raised south side of Chicago, Illinois, white American family, blonde, blue-eyed girl, Christian, right-wing Republican. You know what I mean? Like in all the realms of the America, the false matrix of America that was, bred into us pretty much from the beginning, but then with each war definitely got worse. And after World War II, I mean, come on. Oh, we're never gonna have wars again. Really? Then they go right into, Korea, and then like going into Vietnam, and you know what I mean? It's like, it's just very interesting. So every war we've ever been in isn't like, oh, we're doing this because it's the good of our heart, right? No, it's because it was for some form of control. And I understand people are like, oh, you have to pivot because otherwise they'll bomb us, or they'll well, we realize from all these other tragedies around the world what really happens, what nuclear weapons really do. So the greed and the control isn't going to happen anymore in that realm, because these people that are like, think about this, the elitists that are in the 1%, they're in the 1% of the bullshit. Think about that for a second. There's more of us than them. More of us that want love, want peace, want freedom, individuality. That's their bullshit fucking narrative that's been going on for centuries. Don't feed into it. That's what they want. And everybody, I was watching something recently, they're like, they, who's they? Like, why do we say they? And it's like, because there's you can't really put a label on it. Because they fall, I mean, first of all, labels, we see what labels do, but we still are in this, very kind of like small mindset of labels, but that's how we use things in our languaging to, say, oh, this is Japan, so that you know that where Japan is, right? Like Japan is the label, it's the name of the country, but it's really just a piece of land with people that live there. But they're called Japanese people because that body of land is called Japan. But Japan was an island that was derived from China. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, so the Japanese are really from China originally, because they're just people who migrated. I mean, it's like we can go back and back in history, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? But this is my knowledge and understanding of it. So that's just one facet of it. This has been going on forever. If you look at a globe and you look at the earth masses and the water masses, if you put the earth masses together, they were all connected at one point. They broke apart. Volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, you know what I mean? They find new towns and cities, all the time, buried under sand, buried under water, buried under mountains. So this is just a push-pull of something that's been going on forever. Witches are the earth keepers. They're angels, right? We've been here since the inception of the planet. So to say like Christianity, well, that's only been a few thousand years. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. So that's what it was. It needed to start at the fifth dimensional energy. That's why we were given free will. They always knew it was going to happen this way. That's what we're doing as a co-creation of the universe. It goes beyond anything we can ever really understand in our very limited human brain. That's why we have to go outside of it in meditation and connection, right? Because I mean, growing up, what I see and know now, I always saw and knew that. And my family would be like, it's not real, And I'd be like, I think it is real. And they'd be like, oh my God. And they all thought I was crazy. They probably still do. I don't know. I don't know them anymore, but I hope they've awoken, because there are many people in my family who are very bright and very awake in ways they don't understand. But I feel like they'll unfold and unpack in this lifetime. They can't help it. They're just born that way. It's like they're seekers, they're lovers. They, you know what I mean? I too was a seeker and a lover. And then the people around me who weren't, they were pain and suffering. I became the mirror around my family that they didn't even understand. I didn't understand. We were mirroring each other. But I was definitely different. And now I know I'm a starseed. And I was placed into the lineage of my family to, I'm sure there's other starseeds somewhere in my family that maybe I don't know or understand, or maybe they're not here yet, but they'll come, All I know is that please just love and accept yourself where you are right now, because maybe you are a leader, but you're not where you're meant to be. You're still working through what you're meant to work through, and you're going to be a leader in a year from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now. Maybe you're going to be the, elected official of the planet. Maybe you're going to be in a group of, multiple. I think one president or one king or one leader is a mistake. And I feel like what we're going to end up going towards, or what I feel like we're striving towards, is a true democracy, which is like kind of what we have now with the Supreme Court. But where it's like, it's not about bipartisan or partisan or any of that, like, or party, or, you know what I mean? I saw this thing recently that it was so funny. It was a comedy thing. What did I see? Oh, anyway, but I had to laugh because I remember when I was growing up, I always leaned more Democrat, because Democrats always seem to be more for the people, in my understanding and experience. Even though Abraham Lincoln was my favorite president and I understood the premise of his party, my family was like, no, we're Republicans. And I'm like, okay. So then I started working in politics, and then I, worked for Democrats and Republicans, but mostly Republicans, and noticed that it had become kind of like a natural thing for both parties to work for each other. It was so bizarre to me. But anyway, I remember coming home one year for Christmas when I lived in LA, and I came back to Chicago, and it was a family party. And one of my family members was like, I don't really think of myself as Republican. I just think of myself as a libertarian. And they're like, I think you're a libertarian too. And I was like, I don't know, maybe, and it's funny when people kept trying to tell me who I was, like I didn't have a brain in my head. And I would think to myself, I'm actually working in politics right now. So I do really understand the concept of what you're saying. And maybe I can kind of see what you're saying, but anyway, I had to laugh because this comedian recently basically was like, a libertarian is just, oh gosh, I wish I can remember it. But basically, they said something like they're basically a Republican in the guise of, oh shit. If it comes back to me, it will. But basically, they were just saying like it's just another form of like a party rolling off another party to like just make their own rules is basically what they were saying. And so I feel like the only way to really form, an understanding is we've been quietly being destroyed by our political system. All parties have been, green and otherwise. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Because the true, like, there's no such thing as a party, right? It's about freedom. I mean, it's like, I guess there's a freedom party. Maybe we should start the freedom party. And the freedom party means like, it's like the basics. I want to be who I am. I want to love who I love. I want to marry who I want to marry, if I want to marry at all. I want to have a child if I want to have a child. I don't want to have to feel like I have to have a child in wedlock. I can raise a child in a community if that feels more, you know what I'm saying? It's like, just because we have certain things a certain way doesn't mean they have to stay that way. It's time for us to evolve. And I like I said, I just think having one individual leader is just dangerous. And it has been for a long time. And now I feel like we are going to be seeing a lot of things change over time. Oh, and I looked down, it was 11151. It's also number 9. That's why I was like, that's why it's like, right? 1151. 1 and 1 is 2 and 5 is 7. Wait, 11. 1151. Oh, that's what you said. Okay. So 5 and 1 is 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. And the fly's still here. They can easily leave. So look up fly, work with fly spirit medicine and research it. And you can put in whatever search engine, fly spirit medicine, fly spirit animal, and look at all aspects of it, the light and the shadow. Because I think this is the time for us to really work with this energy and go deep. Have no fear. You're going to get to where you need to be. Give yourself time to figure it out, because the worst thing we can do is put a timeline on ourselves or say, okay, I'm giving this a year. Oh, I'm giving this 6 months. I'm like, but love doesn't have a time stamp date or an expiration date. So this process for me, at least in my personal life, is teaching me what love really means, right? That saying, another good one from the Bible, right? Love is patient, love is kind, love is gentle. Like, it doesn't have conditions or timelines or control. And love certainly doesn't harm, maim, or kill under the guise of healing and, I'm going to take good care of you. Everything's going to be good. Yeah, no. There is enough people out there now that are trying their best. And the interesting thing is, I feel like we're going to be working ourselves from the outside in instead of the inside out, meaning like I grew up around cities. I lived on the edge of a city, right? And I know what that's like to live on the edge of the city. I know what it's like to live in the fray of the city, and I know what it's like to live in the city. And now I've lived in the countryside. I've lived remotely. And now that I've had all these different experiences, I'm realizing what's happening. And it's the people that are in the areas, like the farmlands, that they're taking the most power away from. If you look at this big, beautiful bill, this fat, live piece of garbage. It's really gutting America from the inside out, and it's going to bring more poverty and death. And I feel like this is their way of wanting to kill and control people. Also with the abortion, they don't want people to have the choice to be a parent or not be a parent. They want. Do you know that like the birth rates have actually gone down? We actually have less people now than we've had in I don't know how many years, because they're losing their little drones. They're losing their little zombies. They don't want that. They don't want people to be awake. They don't want you to hear this message, right? I walk the old way. I don't pay for advertising. If things come to my channel, they come to my channels the way that they're meant to, you know? So everything happens for the right reason when it's meant to happen in divine timing and not a moment or a second less. So when Mercury goes retrograde, remember this. Mercury is a planet and it is slowing down. And now the Earth has moved into the fifth dimensional energy. Everything is going faster. Everything is moving quicker. So imagine when Mercury goes retrograde, and those who live in the third dimensional energy and those who give Mercury retrograde the power. Oh, it's Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is doing it. Oh, this happened. Oh, so move slower. Be more mindful. It's summer and winter in both hemispheres, right? Like meaning like summer and winter are the times for us to relax, for us to go inward, for us to take it easy. I've been working my fucking ass off, and I also got angry because I was like, this is summertime. I was really hoping to have like this more lazy, joyful summer. Instead, I'm like working my ass off. Yesterday, I was pruning and having this beautiful connection with this weeping willow. And it was like I gave them a haircut and a thinning, and they felt so much better. And I swear to God, it was like the property felt lighter. Everything felt lighter. I just worked on the property all day, and it felt really good, actually. And I realized it was so freeing. Also because my neighbors weren't here yesterday, which I have to admit, when they're not here, it's so much better. I love them, but there's just a lot of them. And so their energy just kind of like overtakes the property. It's like, so when they're not here, it's a nice time for me to just be quiet, and just connect with the earth. When they are here, I love them too, but you know what I'm saying, especially if you have like, littles or whatever, right? Like you love that they're there, but I'm sure you get more done when they're not, right? Like we get more done when people are not there. So, or kids aren't asking questions, or, like I know when I was growing up, my mom said like she thought that my name should be why, because I was like, why? I just wanted to know. I was like a little sponge. I just always wanted to know. Drove everybody crazy. Now I understand. I wanted to know why. So be open to love, be open, keep your heart chakra open. They had me listen to this piece of music, and right before I started this, and then I'm going to take a screenshot, and I don't want to steal their photo, but the cover photo of it's really cool. It's got like these hands like opening up with like this green crystal coming out, and it just has this very like heart chakra opening energy. So be where you are, work on your heart chakra, and just take things easy. We're in the shadow of the retrograde. It's happening on the 17th on Thursday. It's also the third quarter moon, which, is about, I think the third quarter moon is transition and forgiveness. Oh no, I think it's the 8th is the rest and restore. So they're not having, it's like my mind went blank. So either I'm right or they don't want me to talk about it right now. But I'm definitely going to do something special for that. Because I feel like there's something important. So stay tuned for that. Whether it's going to be a pick a reading or a group reading, I'm not sure, but stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'm just going to keep on keeping on and keep talking about these things when I go through them and share them with you when Spirit wants me to share them with you. But imagine that the third dimensional energy, if you're still stuck in that and you're still stuck in like the negative energy of the third of Mercury retrograde, instead of seeing it as a blessing for us to look at things again, to move slower, to, you know what I mean? Also, traveling during Mercury retrograde can be really tough. And the fact that we have a Mercury retrograde happening smack dab in the middle of summer in the Northern Hemisphere is very interesting to me. Not to mention all the other planets that are in fucking retrograde or going retrograde. It's going to be something. So please, I implore you, take it easy. When you're not working, relax. If you're relaxing and you're feeling fidgety, do something with that energy. Go through that closet, go through that box, go through what you need to go through, face that what you need to face, throw away what you need to throw away. If it's triggering you in a good way, you know, I always say to people, and it feels good, then keep it. But if you're holding on to something and it triggers you constantly in a negative way, you either haven't worked through it yet, or you've worked through it, but you're like, it's almost like when a wound happens and you just keep picking at it, right? Instead of letting it scab over and heal, you keep picking at it. Don't pick at it. Let it go. Say goodbye to it. Something else will come around. I promise you. All right. I think that's it. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about before I exit? Nope, that's it. All right, you guys, until next time, you know, I love you so much. Love yourselves. Love each other. But love yourself first, because we love RuPaul and we like to give them their fucking awesome high praise of, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? All right. All of my information is in the description box. I'll see you next time. Blessed be. Aho.